Jai Vishpatam Hamsa Parivajakachoya Shodra Shodra Shri Srimad Ismail Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, entitled Status Quo, Chapter 26, Fundamental Principles of Material Nature, on Text 8. Probably gave the class on 7 yesterday. Karya karna kartritve karnam prakritim viduhu bhoktritve sukadukkanam purusham prakrite param. Karya karna kartritve karnam prakritim viduhu bhoktritve sukadukkanam purusham prakrite param. Karya karna kartritve karanam prakritim viduhu bhoktritve sukadukkanam purusham prakrite param. You're the last one standing. So Dharmaseti Prabhu is going to give a class on Tuesday and Thursday. And I was talking about you, Larry. I was talking about how you worked out in your mind how to serve a lot of Vaishnavas all at once by making the juice, making the cookies like that. So I was talking about that. And
You didn't serve them all, though.
huh?
You didn't serve them all.
Well, who's ever at? I'm just saying in general.
You didn't come down, you were like super late then.
Who's ever at the Sunday feast?
I've handed the cookie out to every single one sitting down here, and anyone that was in the temple area. So.
Every single person sitting down?
Person down, I started the cookie.
Oh, good. Good. And I guess devotees went to this counseling seminar, so maybe sometime the 5th, sometime later, they may give some class, or Janardan may give some class or whatever about, he'll explain some of the points there. You can look at your notes, I'm sure you took some notes, right? Word by word translation. Karya, the body. Karna, the senses. Kartritve, regarding the demigods. Karanam, the cause. Prakritim, material nature. Viduhu, the learned understand. Bhoktritve, regarding the perception. Sukha, of happiness. Dukkanam, and of distress. Purusham, the spirit soul. Prakritehe, to material nature. Padam, transcendental. Translation. The cause of the conditioned soul's material body and senses, and the senses presiding deities, the demigods, is the material nature. This is understood by learned men. The feelings of happiness and distress of the soul, who is transcendental by nature, are caused by the spirit soul himself. Purport. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said that when the Lord descends to this material world, he comes as a person by his own energy, Atmamaya. He is not forced by any superior energy. He comes by his own will, and this can be called his pastime or lila. But here it is clearly stated that the conditioned soul is forced to take a certain type of body and senses under the three modes of material nature. That body is not received according to his own choice. In other words, a conditioned soul has no free choice. He has to accept a certain type of body according to his karma. But when there are bodily reactions as felt in happiness and distress, it is to be understood that the cause is the spirit soul himself. If he so desires, the spirit soul can change this conditional life of dualities by choosing to serve Krishna. The living entity is the cause of his own suffering, but he can also be the cause of his eternal happiness. When he wants to engage in Krishna consciousness, a suitable body is offered to him by the internal potency, the spiritual energy of the Lord. And when he wants to satisfy his senses, a material body is offered. Thus, it is his free choice to accept a spiritual body or a material body. But once the body is accepted, he has to enjoy or suffer the consequences. The Mayavadi philosopher's presentation is that the living entity enjoys his pastimes by accepting the body of a hog. This theory is not acceptable, however, because the word pastime implies voluntary acceptance for enjoyment. Therefore, this interpretation is most misleading. When there is enforced acceptance for suffering, it is not a pastime. The Lord's pastimes and the conditioned living entity's acceptance of karmic reaction are not on the same level. Om Ganatividandasya Granjanashvakaya Chikshuvadmilitamini Tasmai Shigruvi Namaha Makam Karivachalam Pangam Langaite Grimyakipadamahanda Vande Shigrunditanam Vancha Kapadrivasha Kibasanabe Uchapaditanam Pavanabe Vaishnavi Bilamanamaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Vedigadadhar Shivasari Gaurabhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Read the translation again. The cause of the conditioned soul's material body and senses, and the senses presiding deities, the demigods, is the material nature. This is understood by learned men. The feelings of happiness and distress of the soul, who is transcendental by nature, are caused by the spirit soul himself. So the idea is that we get ourselves into trouble, and the problems that we have presently, whether they're bodily problems or bodily problems such as pain or disease or something like that, or mental problems, disturbance of mind and so on, from different external or internal turmoil. That is all due to, we have created those problems for ourselves. That's the idea. We have created those problems for ourselves. So in the practice of Krishna consciousness, our vision becomes more clear over time. Clear. It's not blurry anymore. Just like you're driving in a car and it's very foggy, and you can't really see. And if it's really foggy, it's going to be dangerous. It's hard to drive. can only see a few feet in front of you if you're lucky. But if the sun comes out and the fog dissipates more and more, you can see where you're going. Or like foggy glasses or something, and you can't really see. But when it clears up, you can see more. So with chanting and purifying our senses, we see more and more and more about this world and ourselves, like that. And yeah, the problems may become very apparent. Okay, what are my problems? My bodily problems, my mental... body problems are not so difficult to find out, but the mental problems, you could say the anarthas, the unwanted things, they become very clear what they are. And it could be discouraging that, okay, well, this is where I am, and I got this pain, I got this problem, I got this problem, I got this problem. But one thing to realize is that, whose fault is this, anyways? Is it Krishna's fault? Is it Ganesha's fault? Is it the President of the United States' fault? Is it my mother's fault? Is it whose fault is it? And when it comes down to it, yes, it's our fault, actually. Whatever we're experiencing, mental problems, physical problems, it's our fault. Due to things we did in our last life, due to things we did in this life, bad things we did in this life, objectively, harmful things to ourselves and others we've done. And this is all, it all catches up to us. It all catches up to us. And God knows what we did. We know what we did in this life. And there may have been some, you could say, pretty twisted or just wrong things we did. And what to speak of last life? Who knows? What to speak of all the lives? So it catches up. So in other words, if we feel pain and dealing with these problems, then we should consider that it's my fault, and not blame Krishna for our suffering. Or as in the Christian tradition, they say every person has to bear their own cross. Have to carry that cross with them, and that baggage. But in the srimadbhagavatam, it says that, in the 10th canto, Lord Brahma, he says that, he's really smashing those pots around there, huh? In the 10th canto, it says that for one who's suffering like this, they're obviously suffering, they're struggling, but they continue suffering and struggling, and they continue in Krishna consciousness, always praying to Krishna. And main point of that verse is they're not blaming Krishna, but they're saying, "Oh, this is to my own, past deeds." And remaining Krishna conscious, it says that those people, they inherit the kingdom of God. They inherit the spiritual world. They go back to Godhead. It's like a ticket. In the examples given of like a son, so for someone who has a wealthy father or wealthy parents, all that the son has to do is just do one thing to inherit they might have to do so many things, but a basic one thing. And what is that? Anyone know? It's very basic. Huh? Wait, that's part of it, yeah. But in order to wait, you have to be a lot, huh? Starts with an A. You have to be alive. So it just says stay alive, If you're alive, your father passes away, he's wealthy. If you're alive, then you inherit the money. You inherit the property. So similarly, it says if we stay alive in Krishna consciousness, that's all, then we inherit the spiritual world. And we all know, we all have a sense of what it means to stay alive. So yeah, we have to. The idea is to accept that we created the problem, and then work on it. and work on it. It's not just, it shouldn't be a depressing thing that, oh man, this is just horrible, I got so many issues and this and that. It's okay, it's discouraging, but it doesn't have to be depressing in the sense that we become, what is it called, paralyzed, become paralyzed. That, oh, I just like a frozen, whatever, vegetable or a frozen, it's horrible, right? It's not, right, they have that saying, no, these people, they become vegetables, right? They just veg out in front of the TV or whatever, but frozen vegetables even worse. It's not fresh, So like a frozen vegetable or whatever, we just become paralyzed. We can't chant, we can't hear, we can't, we can't engage in devotional service, we can't do anything. We're just so paralyzed by the idea of how fallen we are or something, we just can't do anything. We become like that. But okay, fine, see the problems and then work on it. And then gradually Krishna works things out. So yeah, and that's Prabhupada's referring to here, that by our choice to either accept Krishna or reject Krishna, then we either cause our own suffering or cause our happiness. So it is we want to accept Krishna. And our bodies are clearly not, they're not received by our own choice, but we just get the bodies. No one picked, what color eyes they want, or, where they wanted to be born, all these different things. But Krishna, he's different. He could appear anywhere, everywhere, all at the same time. It doesn't matter. He could do those things. He's not forced to accept a material body by the laws of karma. So anybody who says that they're God, they have to pass this test. That, okay, did you pick, to be born here in SanDiego? Did you pick the color of your eyes, right? Why do you...
Some yogis do that?
Huh?
Yeah, some yogis do that?
I don't know. In terms of picking the color of their eyes, I don't think so. I never heard anything like that. There's an idea of you could decide, like, if you're a very powerful yogi, you could prolong your life for hundreds of years, but it's only hundreds of years, right? You could say, okay, well, if you're God, then why don't you just hang out for the next million years, right? So in other words, there's a limit in which the mystic power goes, because people have mystic power, but there's only a limit. There's a limit, and they can't go past that limit. So therefore, they can't claim to be God. So the conditioned soul is just being, one body, next body, next body, next body, like that. So practically just being kicked around, you could say. So this idea, this requires some the whole engagement in Krishna consciousness requires some, you could say, innocence, actually. Innocence and piety, and just, you could say, natural goodness that a person has to have, or at least develop within devotional life. Because devotional life is very simple, Like Ryan, he's sitting here folding, Krishna's laundry. It's a very simple thing. Cook an offering, chant Hare Krishna. It's all very, where's the you could say, where's the passion, right? where's the that's there too. You go out and preach this and that, or travel, I don't know, like in Swami, wherever, go off into the Amazon or something like that. But in so many devotees' life, it's actually very simple, the process of bhakti, and very simple things. But of course, within them is deep ecstasy and joy and satisfaction. Just like the gopis in Vrindavan, they're churning butter. They're churning butter, they're cleaning the house, they're taking care of their children. And alongside, they're singing about Krishna, right? So what generally you see within children, they're easily amused, right? They're easily amused, and they find things very, if they're good children, or you could say real children, then they're easily amused, and they're easily satisfied, with simple stuff. They're just easily satisfied. If you get little monster children, then they're not like that. I'm sorry to say, but generally children are like that, For example, like, you go past big pumpkin patch or something, Anyways, I was going up to Santa Barbara yesterday. I was on the train, and there was two women, and they had a few kids with them. And we're going by, and there was a nice pumpkin patch. It was actually nice, a lot of pumpkins everywhere. It was kind of cool to see, right? And all the kids, oh, hey, mommy, look at the pumpkin patch, and they're all excited and easily amused, and you could say, okay, well, that's because they're children, and their brain hasn't developed or something. But the parents are saying, oh, okay, well, so what? Just pumpkin. From their expression on their face, oh, just pumpkin patch. It's not such a big deal, right? But the devotee also has that you could say that simple and kind of easily satisfied, easily impressed type of mood, in the sense that, yes, they see this pumpkin patch, and it's not just an ordinary pumpkin patch. It's, this is what Krishna's created. Krishna's so great. Krishna conscious, like that. So in other words, they don't become so dull, so covered that nothing impresses them, nothing amuses them. Everything's just like, everything's just like dark and dull and dry, and nothing really, nothing's that great, Or like I was at the Vyasa Puja yesterday, and I was actually surprised, all the devotees were there, a lot of devotees were there, and a devotee had the idea to make cookies, and then on the cookie, I thought it was 2 cookies, but what it was, you could say 2 cookies, but in the middle there was some jelly, right? But on top of the cookie there was some frosting, and then it said different things. So there's like 100 cookies, and one said happy, and one said jubilant, one said peaceful, and one said, tolerant, forgiving, all this type of stuff, right? And some people, they would get a cookie, not there at the festival, but you could say people whose spirit is kind of dull, and they're not very alive people. They get it, who cares? So what? Happy, and this is kid stuff, and this is stupid, and whatever. They may have all these different ideas. But I was actually surprised, because you see all the devotees, they get the cookie from my spiritual master, and you see all of them, and they're all showing each other the cookie. Oh, hey, what do you got? What do you got? They're very kind of happy and joyful like that. So of course what I'm saying may sound kind of like super simple point, but actually it's at least as far as I understand, it's really important, because so much of what we do is repetitive, and so much of what we do is actually very simple, like chanting Hare Krishna. If somebody's too complicated, if their spirit is too dull, if somebody's just too bewildered by material nature, too covered over, then they'll find this chanting to be boring, I've done this so many times, this is boring, right? But to have this innocence, the innocence and the piety and the goodness, oh great, we get to chant Hare Krishna, this is wonderful. And to be happy doing it. That's a real gift to have that. And this the Mayavadis don't have. The Mayavadis don't have this. The non-devotees don't have this, because they don't have that attraction to Krishna. It's just ordinary. It's just like, what are you guys all worked up about? You're laying on the floor and you're bowing down before the statues. What are you guys all worked up about? You're offering prayers and you're crying before these deities. Like, what do you guys, they just take it as complete sentiment. childlike sentimentalism. Just like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they were criticizing Prakashananda Saraswati. They say, oh, you're just a sentimentalist, you're out here, chanting and dancing on the street, and you should be studying Vedanta, right? But he wasn't doing that. He was out on the chanting, dancing on the street, crying. If you look closely at that picture, right here, Panchatattva, you'll see if you look closely at Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's face, maybe all of you noticed, but if you didn't notice, he has a tear coming down. Right there in that picture. So that's what he was doing. Chanting, dancing, crying, in ecstasy for Krishna. So the Mayavadi, they don't have that innocence, that goodness, that simplicity it takes. They think it's Maya. So that's an unfortunate state. So the idea is we don't want to come back to this material world. We don't want to take another birth. We want this to be our last birth in this material world. And we don't want to obviously fall into this Mayavadi idea that we're all God and this is all a pastime, because it really doesn't make sense. But we want to be absorbed in Krishna consciousness and go back to Godhead. That's the idea. So in the process, there's many things that need to be removed from our consciousness that you could say is getting in the way of us going back to the spiritual world. And really going back to the spiritual world, it really starts here. It really starts here in our present association. It doesn't start anywhere else. It's not that, I could become advanced aside from the association of devotees. Just like I was talking with Zach earlier. And we were talking about austerity. Or non-austerity. And as far as I've seen so many brahmacharis come through here. And I've seen quite a lot of them, they have that tendency to be austere. This is what it's about, because in many ways it is about that, being austere. But they wake up super early, and then they eat. They don't eat with anybody, for example. For some reason, they find that as an austerity. They think, I don't know what, but they don't eat with anybody. And then they eat, steamed vegetables. They don't eat the prasadam, right? And so many of them. I mean, I could go down if you're interested. I won't go now, but there's a long list. I could tell you all the names and all the stories, and yeah, I mean, they don't last in the temple. They're frustrated. A lot of them become proud first. Become proud. Oh, look at all these guys. Can't control their senses. Eating sandesh, and I don't eat anything like that, and I just eat steamed vegetables the whole week. And they become proud, and you see them walking around with their heads up, and throwing their chadar over their shoulder, and yeah, I saw such people. They move out of the temple, and then they're at the university working hard like a dog to get a degree, and then hardly come into the temple. I don't know if they're chanting or following principles. Maybe, but the point is, it didn't really in terms of sustaining brahmachari life, which sometimes brahmacharis are interested in doing, for a long period. Then that doesn't really work. Now, someone would say, I want to perform austerities. Okay, great, but you do that in like the Mayavadis, because this could be a Mayavadi tendency, actually, this austerity, because that's all the Mayavadis are about, austerity. But fine, but that has to be in consultation with senior devotees, with devotees who are guiding you, or guiding us. And then they decide, then they could give us guidance, what do you think is good. But a lot of these devotees didn't take it, they just did their own thing. Anyways, but recently I heard from this person that there's I forgot. It was like I think it was she was talking about a medical book. I actually met her yesterday on the train. She was an older lady in the 50s, this and that. She was interested. She asked me, "Oh, you're a monk?" And I said, "Yeah." And I happened to have a chant, "Be happy," so I gave it to her. Thank God I had one. She talked about joining an ashram, this and that. And then she was telling me, some of her problems and blah, blah, blah. But she was mentioning this idea of, this idea of fight and flight, which I'm sure you heard of. And then this idea of rest and digest, So some people are fight and flight. Their bodies and minds are predominantly under that fight and flight dominance. And some bodies and minds are under this rest and digest dominance. So I was talking to her about it, which I thought was an interesting point, and I was trying to relate it to Krishna consciousness, that how does fight and flight, relate to daily activities and this and that? And she's saying, well, fight and flight means there's a lot of anxiety. So for example, at night you won't sleep well because you're in this fight and flight type of anxiety-stricken state, so you don't sleep well. And then what you eat, you won't digest well. Too much anxiety. And then, because we have these bodies, that affects us. The eating, the sleeping, and all that. And then in our relationships. So, in a relationship, this idea of fight and flight, it's like if two people are trying to have a relationship. Obviously, that tendency to fight has to be checked. That tendency to argue, that tendency to attack, argue, fight, defend, all these types of things. That's all fighting, and under the principle of fighting. And also flight, flight. So flight means we want to escape, We don't want to deal with the bhaktas. We don't want to deal with the people. So we just want to escape into our own little, corners of wherever. So you could see how that will affect our relationships in a not so good way. And then she was mentioning this idea of rest and digest. Now, now that might seem like, oh, hey, that sounds pretty good, Rest and digest. You have some prasadam and then you rest and you digest, whatever. But the idea was that, if you're in this kind of peaceful, you could say restful, it's not exactly sleeping, but peaceful, restful state, then things will, you sleep well at night, you digest things like that. And in the relationship, it's more of based on, peace and cooperation, understanding, like that. So. So this idea, this tendency to escape, that is, as like Mukunda Datta Prabhu was mentioning, Rupa Goswami mentions that, the definition of pure devotional service, that it's free from this tendency to escape the miseries of this world. Like some devotees don't want to preach, right, because it's too difficult. They want to escape the miseries of that engagement, getting rejected or whatever it is. Or whatever, the list goes on, accepting certain austerities that might be difficult, that could fall in the category of escaping, or just escaping relationships because they're too difficult to deal with, or people. And this idea of escaping. So, and what to speak of fighting? I mean, fighting with devotees, that's like absolutely against the principle of Krishna consciousness, because, like Prabhupada would quote, he said that if everybody in the temple thinks themselves as a servant of the servant of the servant of Krishna, he said, then there'll be no fighting in the temple. So, in other words, we're a servant of each other, and then he said there'll be no fighting. Of course, there may be disagreements and this and that, but it's not gone about in a strange way. So these are some of the things that we could work on, that this tendency we may have to escape, or the tendency we may have to fight, and so on, and so on, and so on, all the other things. So the idea is we have to work on these, work on these, work on these, work on these. And then we won't fall under this category anymore, thank God, of a conditioned soul just forced to take birth. We won't fall under that category, but we will be able to enter into Krishna's pastimes. We'll be entering into Krishna's pastimes. And in that situation, that's our original state. We're in Krishna's pastimes, we're happy, we're joyful, like that. So does anyone have any questions? Larry, you have something?
Yeah, I was wondering, like, how do you maintain your enthusiasm in Krishna consciousness?
Me personally?
I mean,
or in general?
Really, like, I know
Okay.
about this day. Especially when living in the temple, it's, you're forced to wake up early at a certain time, no matter what you did the night before.
Yeah.
Because like yesterday, like I was really excited and kind of enthusiastic to be back at the temple and participate in the programs. And then this morning, like I just woke up all bloated and like tired and stuff. And I already feel pretty exhausted.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm just wondering, like, how do you maintain your enthusiasm, especially when like Mangalore is always at 4:30 in the morning, even though the seasons are changing. You know, the sun's rising later or earlier.
Yeah, yeah.
So it seems like in traditional times, people would wake up at the Brahma Muhurta or whatever, and that would change according to the season. But nowadays, I guess just to keep it simple, you know, it's 4:30 every day.
Yeah.
But it seems like it has effects on the body and stuff. It makes me feel dull or tired, you know, getting proper rest, and it affects your enthusiasm, Krishna consciousness, and, you know,
Yeah.
being out of promoted ignorance. So I don't know, I'm just wondering, how do you see someone have a better chance of just being enthusiastic in the temple and not get burned out?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like, it's difficult. Yeah, it's difficult. That's for sure. It's difficult. But yeah, like you're saying, the whole sleep pattern sometimes are thrown off. Like, yeah, last few nights my sleep patterns have been thrown off, including last night, because I got back late. So I don't know. There's a sense of like, if somebody just wakes up for the morning program, no matter what, then of course we should try our best to get to sleep at a proper time, and we could try to make arrangements with our services and this and that, and try our best to get to bed at a reasonable time. And in the cases we don't, then there's a sense that, you know, Krishna will over time, with our sincerity and our determination and our endeavor, that He'll give us like energy. He'll give us energy, even though we may be super tired. Over time, you know, with sincerity, determination, endeavor, He'll give us that energy. And that, you know, that helps. Like the other day, I had to go to a college, and I was burnt. I was just, you know, Thursday stayed up, and I was talking with somebody, and I cleaned the kitchen, and then I, you know, woke up, and I dressed right, Gary Dar, didn't chant any rounds, and I cooked the Raj Bhog, and then I, you know, drove down to the college, and, you know, a few hours of sleep only, and I was thinking, oh my God, how is this going to work? On the way there, I was like dead tired. I was driving with Zach, and I was like, oh my God. And then I got there, and also when I was beginning to speak and this and that, and we led some kirtan, but even during the kirtan, I was feeling tired, and I was hoping, oh man, I hope these people don't notice I'm tired. Big class. But then I was like, all right, Krishna, please help. And then I just started playing kartals kind of fast, you know, and then Zach was playing. And then, but over time I got that energy. And And then, after that, I come back and I chant all my rounds, and we went to this Ensenada, kirtan, and I was just like, oh God, this long kirtan, and then got back a little late. But what I'm saying is that particularly at that point, Krishna gave me the energy. Krishna gave me the inspiration. At least that's what I felt. Anyways, whoever gave it to me, I got some energy, whether it's Krishna or somebody else. Hopefully it's not Satan, but I don't know if it's not Satan. I'm just joking, but I got some energy. So, and Ryan was expressing that the other day too. He was telling me that sometimes that happens to him. Right, Ryan? You were telling me that? So, this idea of praying too, like in the morning, because the morning program requires a lot of energy, and if we feel dead, then it might be tough, and you're like suffering and struggling through it. Oh man, and you're just, mind's going crazy. So, but if we pray to Krishna, okay, Krishna, I'm like dead tired right now, but please help me get through this, please help me, and then he'll help. And when I joined the temple, because I was, especially I would struggle more, a lot more. And I would always tell myself, okay, I'm going to stay up, and, I'm tired right now, but I'm going to take a nap later. And that would kind of pacify my mind, that, okay, I'm going to take a nap later. At least through the morning program, that would always pacify my mind. And Haridas Thakur would do that too. He did that with, with that prostitute, he said, oh, let me just chant my rounds, and later, chant my rounds. And then he never got, of course he never got, but that was a trick. But so in other words, what I'm saying, it's like a trick of the mind. You're like, okay, I'm going to chant right now, I'm going to engage, and you're praying to Krishna, give me energy, and then I'll take a nap later. And then, actually take a nap later. That will help, But aside from that, the fact is, during the temple life, that's one of the austerities, that just unfortunately sometimes having to go to sleep late. It'd be nice if, we could get certain devotees maybe from outside or this or that, or, hire some people from, anyways, I'm just joking, but to help out with the evening duties so devotees could go to sleep earlier, but sometimes that's not the case, so just have to try to. It's like brahmacharis, this is the last thing, brahmacharis, they say, they have to perform certain austerities. And with those austerities, they get some they get particular type of freedom. And grihastas, they perform their austerities, and they get their particular type of freedom, but it's different. So the brahmacharis, they perform the austerity of, temple life and the services and rising, household should also rise early, but this and that, and, we all know the austerities. And with that, we get a particular type of freedom. We don't have to, we don't have to work the 9 to 5 and, pay all the bills and all this type of stuff and deal with the whole intricate, complex difficulties of family existence. We don't have to deal with that. So that's, you could say, like our freedom. Whereas the householders, they perform those austerities, 9 to 5 and the bills and all family interest. And with that, they get a little freedom. Okay, fine, they have a little money, or, they buy things or this and that, and have that, you could say, that experience, So it's just the price, So we have to try to work around it somehow, tolerate and work around. So, does anyone have any other? Janardan? You have anything to say? From the seminar, relating to this class? Or? Nothing relates? Okay, different topic? Okay. Maybe you could tell us later then. Everybody's eager to hear. Right? Yeah, Larry wanted to go. But you have notes, right? They gave you a book or something?
Yeah, we have books.
Oh, they gave you books? How many books?
I have one book. I don't know if you guys will have it. That's it.
Okay. All right, well. We'll be expecting some stuff. All right, good to
Dharma stage is tomorrow.